The transport ship landed on Nexus Prime with a soft thud. Steam rose from its landing engines as they cooled in the alien air. Hyunwoo Kim stepped out of the ship and looked around at his new home. The Galactic Military Academy stretched before him like a crystal city. Tall spires reached toward purple skies and floating platforms carried students between buildings. Hyun-Woo carried a simple bag on his shoulder. He was 19 years old, with dark hair and calm eyes. He came from Seoul, Earth, a world most aliens called dangerous, but to him Earth was just home. The gravity here felt lighter than Earth's heavy pull. The air smelled different, cleaner somehow. Other students watched him from a distance. They whispered to each other in different alien languages. Some had multiple arms, others floated in the air. A few looked like walking crystals that caught the light and threw rainbows everywhere. A tall, blue-skinned woman walked toward him. Her skin looked wet like she lived underwater. Gills on her neck opened and closed as she breathed. "You must be Cadet Kim," she said in perfect human language. "I am Professor Yolandra. Welcome to the Academy." "Thank you, Professor," Hyunwoo said with a small bow. This made some nearby students step back. They had never seen a human before. Professor Yolandra led him through the main hall. The ceiling was made of glass, and 3 different suns shone down on them. "You are the first human student we have had in 300 years, she explained. "The other cadets might need time to get used to you." They walked past groups of alien students. A creature made of floating gas drifted by, speaking in musical tones. Near a wall, a student with natural armor plates covering his body read from a data tablet. His large eyes followed Hyunwoo as they passed. "Why did humans stop coming here?" Hyunwoo asked. Professor Yolandra was quiet for a moment. "There were incidents, misunderstandings. Your species is classified as Deathworlders. Many people fear what they do not understand." They entered a classroom where other first-year cadets waited. The room fell silent when Hyunwoo walked in. A student made of living crystal began to vibrate softly, a sign of nervousness in his species. The floating gas student moved to the far side of the room. "Everyone, this is Cadet Hyunwoo Kim from Earth," Professor Yolandra announced. "He will be joining our xenobiology program." A tall alien with silver skin and proud bearing stood up. His name was Kelvos, and he came from a world where his family ruled over others. "Professor, is it safe to have a Deathworlder in class with us? What if he loses control?" Hyunwoo felt the eyes of every student on him. He had expected this reaction. Back on Earth, they had warned him that other species were afraid of humans. "I understand your concern," he said calmly. "I will do my best not to cause any problems." His polite response seemed to surprise them. Kelvos sat back down, but kept watching Hyunwoo with suspicious eyes. Professor Yolandra began the lesson about different alien life forms. She showed pictures of creatures from across the galaxy. Some looked harmless, like floating jellyfish that ate starlight. Others appeared dangerous with sharp teeth and claws. When she showed a picture of an earth bear, several students gasped. The creature looked massive and terrifying to them. "This is one of the predators from the human homeworld," Professor Yolandra explained. "I saw one of those when I was camping with my family," Hyunwoo said without thinking. "It was just looking for food. We made noise and it went away." The classroom became very quiet. To the alien students, facing such a creature seemed impossible. Their own worlds had small, gentle animals. The idea that humans lived alongside such monsters was terrifying. Vel quote Tar Kama, the crystal student, spoke in a voice like wind chimes. You encountered such a beast and survived?" "Oh yes," Hyunwoo said. "Bears usually avoid humans. They only attack if they feel trapped or if you get between them and their cubs. You just have to understand how they think." This made things worse. The alien students could not imagine understanding a predator's mind. To them, all dangerous creatures were pure evil, things to run from or hide behind walls. After class, most students avoided Hyunwoo. He sat alone at lunch, eating food from the human section of the cafeteria. The taste reminded him of home, though it was made by machines instead of his mother's hands. A young woman approached his table. She had dark hair like his and moved with easy confidence. "Mind if I sit?" she asked in Korean. Hyun-woo smiled for the first time that day. "Please do. I'm Hyun-woo." "Mi-young Park," she said, sitting across from him. "I'm in the xenopsychology program. I study how different species think and feel." "Another human," Hyun-woo said with relief. "I was starting to think I was the only one here." Mi-young laughed. "There are a few of us. We mostly work in support roles, medical, maintenance, research. The academy likes having us around, but they keep us away from the main military training. Too dangerous, they say." "Do you think we're dangerous?" Hyun-woo asked. Mi-young considered this. "We're different. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. That made us strong, but it also made us willing to fight when we need to. Other species evolved on gentle worlds where the biggest threat was running out of food. They don't understand that strength can be used to protect instead of harm." Over the following days, Hyun-woo tried to fit in. He was polite to everyone and worked hard in his classes, but the other students remained afraid. When he moved quickly to catch a falling data pad, several aliens jumped back in fear. When he laughed at a joke, they mistook it for a threatening growl. Voss made things worse by spreading rumors. He told other students that humans were barely civilized savages who could explode into violence at any moment. He said that Deathworlders only joined the military to find new worlds to conquer. Professor Yolandra watched all of this with growing concern. She had studied human history and knew that Kelvos was wrong. Humans had a strong sense of protecting others, even at cost to themselves. But she also knew that fear was hard to fight with facts. In his room that night, Hyun-woo looked out at the alien stars. He missed Earth's single moon and familiar constellations. He missed his family and friends who didn't flinch when he moved or spoke. But he had come here for a reason. Humans wanted to be part of the galactic community. They wanted to prove they could be trusted partners, not threats. Even if it meant facing fear and suspicion every day, Hyun-woo was determined to show them what humans were really like. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but he would meet them the same way his species always had, with quiet strength and stubborn hope. 3 weeks passed since Hyun-woo's arrival at the academy. Each day brought new lessons and new reminders that he was different from everyone else. The alien cadets had settled into a routine of avoiding him, while he tried his best to prove he was not a threat. Physical training was the worst part of each day. The academy's gym was a huge space filled with equipment designed for dozens of different species. Gravity fields could be adjusted, atmosphere could be changed, and obstacles could be made harder or easier, depending on who was using them. Instructor Bexron was a massive creature with 4 arms and skin like metal plates. He came from a high-gravity world and was known for pushing students to their limits. "Today we test strength and endurance," he announced to the mixed class of cadets. The first test was lifting weights. Veltar, the crystal student, struggled with even the lightest setting. His species was built for thinking, not physical work. Quinn, the gas creature, could not lift anything solid at all. Mordex, with his armored shell, managed moderate weights but moved very slowly. When Hyun-woo's turn came, he approached the machine calmly. The instructor set it to what he thought was a challenging level for a human. Hyun-woo lifted the weight easily, so Bexron increased it. Still easy. He kept increasing the setting until Hyun-woo was lifting more than students who were twice his size. "Impossible," Kelvos muttered. He must be using some kind of enhancement device. But Hyun-woo was not cheating. Earth's heavy gravity had made his muscles dense and strong. What felt normal to him seemed superhuman to others. The running test was even worse for the other students' confidence. While they gasped for air after a few minutes, Hyun-woo ran steadily for an hour. His breathing stayed calm and regular. Sweat covered his skin, but he showed no signs of stopping. "How is this possible?" Veltar asked Mi-young after class. "Is your friend some kind of warrior elite?" Mi-young shook her head. "He's completely normal for a human. On Earth, children run farther than that just playing games. Our world made us this way." The alien students found this hard to believe. Their worlds were gentle places where the biggest physical challenge was climbing a small hill or swimming across a calm lake. The idea that an entire species had to be strong just to survive seemed like a nightmare. Combat training made things even worse. The class learned basic self-defense using simulation weapons that could not cause real harm. The alien students practiced formal movements they had memorized from books. Hyun-Woo moved differently. When attacked, he didn't follow the textbook responses. Instead, he flowed like water, redirecting attacks and using his opponent's strength against them. His movements looked almost like dancing, but every motion had a purpose. During one exercise, Kelvos tried to prove that humans were not as dangerous as everyone thought. He challenged Hyun-Woo to a sparring match using practice weapons. "I will show everyone that Deathworlders are not so special," Kelvos announced loudly. Hyun-Woo did not want to fight, but the instructor insisted the match would be educational. "Very well," he said quietly, "but please be careful." The match lasted 30 seconds. Kelvos attacked with all his training and natural strength. Hyun-Woo simply stepped aside, caught Kelvos's weapon hand, and gently applied pressure to a nerve point. The proud alien dropped his weapon and fell to his knees, crying out in surprise more than pain. "I yield," Hyun-Woo said immediately, helping Kelvos to his feet. "Are you hurt?" Kelvos was not physically injured, but his pride was broken. He had been defeated so easily that it looked like Hyun-Woo was playing with a child. The other students stared in shocked silence. After that day, the fear grew worse. Kelvos began telling everyone that humans were even more dangerous than the stories claimed. "He could have killed me," he whispered to anyone who would listen. "I saw it in his eyes. He was holding back, but barely." This was not true. Hyun-Woo had been completely in control and had no intention of hurting anyone. But fear made people see threats that were not there. The situation got worse during survival training. The class was taken to a wilderness area and told to build shelter and find food using only basic tools. Most students struggled with tasks like starting a fire or purifying water. Hyun-Woo worked quickly and efficiently. Within an hour, he had built a sturdy shelter, started a fire, and identified several edible plants. He even made simple tools from stones and sticks he found nearby. "This is basic camping knowledge where I come from," he explained to Mi-young. "My father taught me when I was 8 years old." But to the alien students, it looked like magic. They had never learned such skills because their worlds did not require them. Advanced technology provided everything they needed. The idea that anyone could survive in the wild using only their hands and simple tools was terrifying. Professor Yelandra watched all of this with growing interest. She had begun to study human behavior and history in her spare time. What she found surprised her. Humans were not the savage conquerors that popular stories claimed. Instead, they were protective and caring, often to their own disadvantage. She found records of human soldiers who had died protecting alien civilians during border conflicts. She read about human rescue workers who risked their lives to save people they had never met. She discovered that human parents would fight deadly predators to protect not just their own children, but any child in danger. "The galaxy has misunderstood your species," she told Mi-young during a private meeting. "The fear is based on old stories and misinterpreted data." Mi-young nodded sadly. "Humans can be dangerous, but only when we need to be. We prefer peace, but we will fight to protect others. The problem is that other species see the capacity for violence and assume it means we want to use it." Meanwhile, Kelvos continued to poison opinion against Hyun-Woo. He organized the other students to avoid the human completely. They would not sit near him, would not work with him on projects, and would not speak to him unless absolutely necessary. Hyun-Woo felt the isolation deeply, but he did not complain or fight back. He continued attending classes, completing assignments, and treating everyone with respect. When other students dropped things, he still helped them pick up their belongings. When someone looked lost, he still offered directions. His kindness, in the face of hostility, confused the alien students. They expected a dangerous creature to become angry when rejected. Instead, Hyun-Woo became more helpful and more polite. "Maybe he is planning something," Quinn suggested to the others. "Perhaps this kindness is how Deathworlders hunt. They make you trust them, then attack when you are not expecting it. This paranoid thinking spread through the student body. Every helpful act became suspicious. Every friendly gesture was seen as potential manipulation. The more kind Hyunwoo became, the more afraid they grew. Only Mi Young understood what was really happening. Hyunwoo was homesick and lonely, so he was trying even harder to connect with others. It was a very human response. When rejected, they often became more generous, not more hostile. They will understand eventually, she told him one evening, as they ate dinner together. Fear makes people stupid, but it does not last forever. Hyunwoo looked around the cafeteria, at all the empty tables between them and the other students. I hope you are right, he said. I came here to build bridges, not walls. Neither of them knew that events were already in motion that would change everything. Tomorrow's xenobiology class would feature a special demonstration that would test everyone's courage and reveal the truth about human nature. Professor Yolandra stood before her xenobiology class with an expression of excitement. Behind her, a large screen showed the Academy's official seal. The alien students sat in their usual seats, while Hyunwoo occupied his lonely spot at the back corner of the room. Today we will have a very special practical examination, the professor announced. For the first time this semester, you will observe a living apex predator in controlled conditions. Excited whispers filled the classroom. This was the kind of advanced training that made the Galactic Military Academy famous across known space. Students often waited years before they were allowed to study dangerous creatures up close. Vel, quote, Tar, quote, S crystalline body began to vibrate with anticipation. What species will we be studying, Professor? A Nexus stalker, Professor Yolandra replied, with pride. Native to this world and one of the most intelligent predators we know of. The excitement in the room turned to nervous energy. Everyone had heard of Nexus stalkers. They were legendary hunters that could grow as large as 200 kilograms. Their claws could cut through metal, and their camouflage abilities made them nearly invisible. Stories said they could track prey across entire continents. Kel. Quote Voss raised his hand. Professor, is this not extremely dangerous? What if the containment systems fail? The demonstration will take place in Laboratory 7, Professor Yolandra explained. It has triple redundancy energy barriers, emergency lockdown protocols, and direct links to Academy security. The creature cannot possibly escape. Hyunwoo listened to this with interest, but his thoughts were different from his classmates. While they worried about their safety, he found himself curious about the predator's behavior patterns and hunting strategies. On Earth, understanding dangerous animals was a survival skill that every human learned. The Nexus stalker is 3 meters long and weighs approximately 180 kilograms, the professor continued. It hunts primarily through stealth and ambush tactics. Its sensory organs can detect heat, electromagnetic fields, and even emotional stress through chemical signals. Mordex pulled his armored head partially into his shell. Chemical signals? It can smell fear? Indeed. Fear produces specific pheromones that the stalker can detect from great distances. This is why we will all take mild sedatives before the demonstration to reduce our stress responses. Hyunwoo frowned at this. Sedatives would dull their reflexes and awareness. On Earth, that was the opposite of what you did around dangerous predators, but he said nothing, not wanting to cause more suspicion. The class moved through the academy corridors toward Laboratory 7. Other students and faculty stopped to watch them pass. Word had spread quickly that first-year cadets were being allowed to observe a live Nexus stalker. Many considered this either a great honor or extremely foolish. Laboratory 7 was located in the Academy's research wing, far from student dormitories and public areas. The room itself was impressive, a large space with transparent aluminum walls that could contain almost anything. Multiple energy projectors created invisible barriers that even the strongest creatures could not break. At the center of the room, a smaller containment area had been prepared. Energy fields hummed quietly, creating a cage of pure force. Inside, something moved in the shadows. Woo-Jin Lee, a human maintenance technician, was running final checks on the equipment. He looked up as the class entered and caught Professor Yolandra's attention. Professor, "We have been having some minor fluctuations in the backup power systems," he said in accented Galactic Standard. "Nothing serious, but I thought you should know." Professor Ylandra waved away his concerns. "The primary systems are functioning perfectly, and we have multiple backups. Thank you for your diligence, but the demonstration will proceed as planned." Wu Jin looked unconvinced but returned to his work. Hyun Woo noticed the technician's worried expression and made mental note of it. In his experience, people who worked with dangerous equipment usually had good reasons for their concerns. The students took their positions behind observation screens. Medical staff distributed mild sedatives, which most students accepted gratefully. Hyun Woo declined his dose, claiming allergic reactions. The medical officer noted this but allowed him to proceed without medication. "Now then," Professor Ylandra said, activating the room's main display screen, "let us begin our observation." The lights dimmed and spotlights illuminated the containment area. For a moment, nothing seemed to be there. Then the shadows moved, and the Nexus stalker revealed itself. The creature was magnificent and terrifying. Its body was built for killing, with powerful muscles under dark scaled skin. 6 legs ended in claws that looked like curved knives. Its head was elongated, with multiple eyes that could see in different spectrums of light. When it moved, it did so with liquid grace that spoke of perfect evolutionary design. Several students gasped in fear despite their sedatives. Quinn, the gas being, began to glow brighter, a stress response in his species. Even Kelvos, who usually acted brave, stepped back from the observation window. "Observe how it moves," Professor Ylandra said, her voice filled with scientific enthusiasm. "Every step is calculated. It wastes no energy and makes no unnecessary sound. This is what millions of years of evolution as an apex predator looks like." The stalker began to explore its containment area. It tested the energy barriers with careful touches, learning the boundaries of its prison. Its multiple eyes scanned the observation area, clearly aware of the students watching it. Hyun-Woo studied the creature with professional interest. He noted how it favored its right side slightly, suggesting an old injury. Its scanning pattern was methodical but revealed impatience. The way it held its head indicated good hearing and an active intelligence that was already working on escape plans. "Can it see us clearly?" Veltar asked, his crystal body vibrating nervously. "Its vision is excellent in multiple spectrums," the professor replied. "It knows we are here, but the energy barriers prevent it from detecting our specific scent signatures, or stress pheromones." As if responding to her words, the stalker suddenly focused its attention on the observation area where the student stood. Its head tilted, and several of its eyes fixed on specific points in the group. Hyun-Woo realized what was happening. The creature was not randomly looking around. It was studying each observer, categorizing them by threat level and potential as prey. When its gaze passed over him, he felt a moment of recognition pass between predator and predator. The stalker's attention lingered on him longer than the others, not with hostility but with what seemed like curiosity. It was the look one hunter gives another when they meet in the wild. "Interesting," Professor Ylandra murmured, following the creature's gaze. "It seems particularly interested in Cadet Kim. Perhaps it recognizes a fellow predator." This comment made the other students even more nervous. They glanced at Hyun Woo with new fear, imagining connections between the human and the deadly creature that did not actually exist. The demonstration continued for 30 minutes. Professor Ylandra pointed out the stalker's adaptive camouflage, its efficient movement patterns, and its obvious intelligence. The creature performed for its audience, showing off abilities that made it one of the galaxy's most feared predators. But Hyun Woo noticed things the others missed. He saw how the creature's eyes kept returning to certain spots on the containment system. He observed the way it tested the barriers at different angles, as if mapping weaknesses. Most importantly, he noticed that its attention kept shifting between the energy projectors and the room's emergency exits. The stalker was not just exploring its cage, it was planning an escape. As the demonstration neared its end, Hyun Woo felt a growing sense of unease. The creature's behavior reminded him of a story his grandfather had told him about tigers in Korea, how they would appear calm and contained right up until the moment they struck. Professor Yolandra began her closing remarks. As you can see, even the most dangerous predators can be safely studied when proper precautions are taken. Science requires us to observe and understand, not simply to fear. At that moment, warning lights began flashing throughout the laboratory. An automated voice filled the room. Power fluctuation detected in Laboratory 7. Backup systems engaging. Woo Jin Lee looked up from his maintenance panel with alarm. Professor, we need to evacuate immediately. The fluctuations are cascading through the entire grid. But Professor Yolandra was confident in her safety systems. The containment will hold. We have multiple redundancies. The Nexus stalker had gone completely still, as if sensing opportunity in the chaos of blinking lights and warning sounds. Its multiple eyes fixed on the energy projectors that held it prisoner. Hyun-Woo stepped forward. Professor, I think we should listen to the technician. Before anyone could respond, the laboratory plunged into darkness as the primary power systems failed. Emergency lighting bathed Laboratory 7 in red pulsing light. The familiar hum of energy barriers died away, replaced by the sound of failing machinery and growing panic. What had been a controlled demonstration seconds before became every student's worst nightmare. The Nexus stalker stood motionless for a heartbeat, testing the air where invisible walls had just been. Then it stepped forward into what had been its prison, and nothing stopped it. Containment breach, the automated system announced in a calm voice that contrasted sharply with the terror in the room. Emergency protocols activating. Laboratory 7 is now under lockdown. Heavy blast doors began sliding shut over the exits. Professor Yolandra rushed to the main control panel, her webbed fingers dancing over emergency switches. The backup system should be engaging, she said, but her voice carried doubt. Woo Jin Lee was already at another console, sweat beading on his forehead. The cascade failure took out the secondaries too. I am trying to reroute power, but it will take time. The stalker moved like liquid shadow in the red emergency light. Its camouflage abilities made it hard to track as it explored its new freedom. The creature was in no hurry. It had learned patience through millions of years of evolution. S crystalline body began vibrating so hard that he created a high-pitched whine. We are all going to die, he whispered. It will hunt us one by one. Quinn, the gas being, tried to phase through the sealed blast doors but could not. His species could pass through many materials, but the Academy's emergency barriers were designed to contain everything, including non-solid life forms. Dex had pulled his head and limbs completely into his armored shell, leaving only his eyes visible. Kelvo stood frozen against the far wall, his silver skin pale with terror. The stalker finished its initial survey of the room and began to focus on the group of potential prey huddled near the observation area. Its multiple eyes studied each target, evaluating threat levels and hunting priorities. Fear has a smell. Despite the sedatives most students had taken, their terror was producing chemical signals that the predator could detect easily. The creature's nostrils flared as it tasted the air, confirming what its eyes already knew. These were prey animals, not threats. Professor Yolandra activated the emergency communication system. Security to Laboratory 7. We have a code. Red containment breach. Send armed response teams immediately. A crackling voice responded through static. Professor, the power failures have affected multiple systems. Response teams are dealing with emergencies throughout the Academy. We will reach you as soon as possible. How long? She demanded. 20 minutes, maybe more. 20 minutes was a lifetime when facing an apex predator. The stalker had begun moving toward the group, each step careful and deliberate. It was not rushing because it knew there was nowhere for its prey to run. Hyun-Woo stepped away from the other students and positioned himself between them and the approaching creature. His movement was calm and deliberate, without the jerky panic, motions that would trigger the predator's attack instincts. What are you doing? Kelvos hissed. Get back here before it sees you. but the stalker had already seen him. The creature paused, tilting its elongated head to study this strange prey that moved toward danger instead of away from it, its multiple eyes fixed on Hyunwoo with new interest. "Everyone stay very still," Hyunwoo said quietly. "Do not make sudden movements or loud sounds. Fear makes you smell like easy prey." Mi Young, who had remained remarkably calm during the crisis, understood what her fellow human was doing. "Listen to him," she told the others. "Hyunwoo knows about predators." The stalker took another step forward, then stopped. Its head swiveled between Hyunwoo and the group behind him. The creature's intelligence was evident as it processed this unusual situation. Most prey animals fled in panic, but this one was standing its ground. Hyun-Woo studied the predator's posture and body language. Its weight was balanced on its rear legs, ready for a pounce. Its claws had extended fully, prepared for combat. But its head position showed confusion rather than aggression. The creature was trying to understand what kind of threat he represented. "Professor," Hyunwoo said without taking his eyes off the stalker, "is there anything in your research about this species' territorial behavior?" "Territorial?" Professor Yalandra was baffled by the question. "This is not its territory. It was brought here, from the wild, but it has been in this room for days, preparing for the demonstration. It may have claimed this space as its hunting ground." The stalker took several more steps toward the group. Its movement was still controlled, but Hyunwoo could see the predatory focus intensifying. The creature had made its decision about which target to take first. Unfortunately, that target was Kel. Voss. The proud alien had been making small whimpering sounds that drew the predator's attention. His fear scent was the strongest, marking him as the weakest member of the group. In the stalker's mind, weak prey was always taken first. The creature began shifting its weight forward, preparing to charge. Its muscles tensed like coiled springs. Several of its eyes remained fixed on Hyunwoo, but the majority focused on Kelvos behind him. "It is going to attack," Veltar whispered, his vibrations reaching a frequency that hurt everyone's ears. Professor. Yalandra had given up on the controls and was pressing herself against the far wall. Woo Jin Lee continued working frantically to restore power, but his efforts would take too long to matter. The stalker's hindquarters bunched as it prepared to leap. Its target was clear, a curved path that would take it around Hyunwoo to reach Kelvos. The creature had calculated that the human would not be able to intercept its charge. Hyun-Woo saw the predator's intention in the subtle shift of its posture. Time seemed to slow as adrenaline flooded his system. His human reflexes, evolved from millions of years of surviving on a death world, kicked in automatically. The stalker launched itself forward with incredible speed. Its powerful legs drove it through the air like a missile of claws and teeth. The other students screamed and scattered, but there was nowhere to go in the sealed room. Instead of dodging or running, Hyunwoo did something that shocked everyone present. He charged forward to meet the creature head-on. The collision was tremendous. Two apex predators, each the product of their world's most dangerous evolutionary pressures, met in midair with the sound of thunder. Hyunwoo caught the stalker around its midsection, using its own momentum against it. They crashed to the floor together in a tangle of limbs and claws. The stalker was heavier and had natural weapons, but Hyunwoo had advantages the creature did not expect. His muscles were dense from Earth's heavy gravity. His reflexes were faster than anything the stalker had ever encountered. Most importantly, his intelligence was focused by millions of years of human ancestors who had survived by fighting impossible odds. The predator tried to rake him with its claws, but Hyunwoo controlled its limbs with precise leverage. When it tried to bite, he positioned his body to deny it the angles it needed. Every movement was calculated to neutralize the creature's advantages while exploiting its weaknesses. The other students watched in stunned amazement as human and alien predator wrestled across the laboratory floor. Hyunwoo was not trying to kill the stalker. Instead, he was demonstrating the human concept of dominance assertion. He used pressure points and joint locks to convince the creature that he was the superior predator. The fight lasted less than a minute, though it felt like hours to everyone watching. Gradually, the stalker's struggles became less violent. The creature began to understand that it could not win this contest, and its survival instincts told it to submit, rather than fight to the death. Finally, the Nexus Stalker went limp in Hyunwoo's grip. It was not unconscious or injured, simply acknowledging defeat. In the wild, this submission would allow both predators to survive and avoid unnecessary death. Hyun-Woo held the creature for several more seconds, establishing his dominance clearly. Then he slowly released his grip and stepped back, keeping his eyes on the stalker but no longer showing aggressive postures. The predator remained on the floor, breathing heavily, but showing no signs of renewed attack. It had learned what every successful hunter knows. Sometimes the smart choice is to find easier prey elsewhere. At that moment, the laboratory lights flickered back to life as Woo Jin Lee finally restored power to the containment systems. The emergency barriers hummed back to life, creating invisible walls around the Nexus Stalker once again. The creature looked up at the renewed containment with what seemed like resignation. It had tested its boundaries and found them restored, stronger than before. Hyun-Woo stood near the center of the laboratory, breathing hard but otherwise unharmed. His clothing was torn and dirty from the struggle, but he bore no serious injuries. The alien students stared at him in complete silence, unable to process what they had just witnessed. Security teams burst through the blast doors that had finally reopened. They carried energy weapons and wore full protective gear, ready to face a rampaging predator. Instead, they found a calm scene with the creature safely contained and all students accounted for. "Report," demanded Captain Nextar, the security chief. His species looked like walking trees with bark-like skin and leaves that changed color with his emotions. Right now, those leaves showed deep concern. "Containment breach due to power failure," Professor Yolandra explained, her voice shaking slightly. "But the situation has been resolved." The security captain looked around the room, taking in the scene. His officers began setting up additional containment measures around the stalker, but the creature showed no interest in further escape attempts. It had settled into a resting position and was grooming itself like a large cat. Dr. Sejin Choi arrived with the medical team. She was a human woman in her 40s, with graying hair and steady hands that had treated injuries across dozens of species. Her presence brought immediate calm to the situation. "Any injuries?" she asked in Galactic Standard, though her eyes were already checking Hyunwoo for wounds. "I am fine, doctor," he assured her in Korean. "Just some scratches." She switched to their shared language for the examination. "You tackled a Nexus Stalker with your bare hands. Most humans would call that anything but fine." "It was necessary," Hyunwoo replied simply. Dr. Choi nodded with understanding. She had worked with enough humans to recognize the quiet heroism that their species displayed in crisis situations. While she treated his minor cuts, the alien students continued to stare in shocked silence. Kel Voss was the first to break the spell. He approached Hyunwoo slowly, his silver skin still pale from fear. You saved my life," he said in a voice barely above a whisper. "That creature was going to kill me, and you put yourself in danger to stop it." "I could not let anyone get hurt," Hyunwoo replied, wincing as Dr. Choi cleaned a deeper scratch on his arm. "But I have been horrible to you," Kelvos continued. "I spread rumors and turned others against you. I called you dangerous and uncivilized. Why would you risk your life for someone who treated you so badly?" This question hung in the air like a physical thing. The other students gathered closer, desperate to understand the human's motivations. In their cultures, you protected family and close friends. You might help allies if there was something to gain. But you did not risk death for enemies. Hyun-Woo considered the question seriously. "Where I come from, we have a saying. A person's true character shows not when things are easy, but when they are hardest. You were afraid, and that made you act badly toward me. But that does not mean I should let you die when I could prevent it." Veltar's crystalline body chimed softly as he processed this concept. "You are saying that you judge people by their potential, not just their current actions?" "Something like that," Hyunwoo agreed. Everyone deserves a chance to be better than their worst moments. Professor Yolandra had been listening to this exchange with growing fascination. Her xenobiological training had taught her to observe behavior patterns, and what she was seeing challenged everything she thought she knew about predator species. "Cadet Kim," she said formally, "your actions today raise important questions about human behavior. You subdued a creature twice your size without killing it. You protected individuals who had shown you hostility. This is not typical predator behavior according to our models." Mi Young stepped forward to help explain. "Professor, I think there has been a fundamental misunderstanding about what makes humans dangerous. Yes, we can be deadly when necessary, but we evolved as protectors, not conquerors. Our greatest strength has always been our willingness to sacrifice for others." She gestured toward Hyunwoo, who was now helping Woo Jin Lee check the laboratory equipment for damage. "What you just saw is completely normal human behavior. We call it heroism, but for us it is just what you do when people are in danger." Dr. Choi finished treating Hyunwoo's wounds and addressed the group. "I have been working at this academy for 15 years. I have seen humans risk their lives to save alien species they had never met before. I have watched human engineers stay behind on failing ships to make sure everyone else escapes safely. This is not unusual behavior for our species." Mordek slowly extended his head from his protective shell. "But the stories say that humans are aggressive conquerors, that you destroy everything you touch." "Some stories are true," Dr. Choi admitted. "Humans can be terrible when they choose to be. But most of our worst actions came from fear or misunderstanding, not from natural cruelty. When we understand something, we usually try to protect it." Captain Nextar had been listening while his team secured the laboratory. His leaf-covered head rustled as he considered what he had heard. "The security reports I have read about human personnel are interesting. They have the lowest crime rates of any species at the academy. They volunteer for the most dangerous assignments. They have never failed to respond when others needed help." He looked directly at Hyunwoo. "But they are also the most heavily monitored group, because everyone fears what they might do." The irony was not lost on anyone present. The species that posed the least actual threat was treated with the most suspicion. Over the following days, word of the incident spread throughout the academy. The story grew in the telling, but the core facts remained the same. A human student had risked his life to protect classmates who had shunned him. The alien cadets' attitudes began to change. Veltar started sitting near Hyunwoo during lectures, asking questions about Earth and human culture. Quinn would hover nearby during meals, sharing stories from his own gaseous homeworld. Even Mordex emerged from his shell long enough to engage in conversations about different species' survival strategies. Kel quote, "Voss underwent the most dramatic transformation. The proud alien became Hyunwoo's most vocal defender, correcting anyone who still spread negative rumors about humans. He publicly apologized for his previous behavior and asked to be trained in basic human martial arts. I want to understand how you remained so calm," he explained during one training session. "When I saw that creature coming toward me, I could not move. But you saw the same danger and ran toward it instead of away. How is that possible?" Hyunwoo demonstrated some basic self-defense techniques while he answered. "Fear is natural and useful. It keeps you alive. But courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is being afraid and doing what needs to be done anyway." The Academy administration took notice of these changes. Academy Director Velthon, an ancient being whose species was among the first to achieve spaceflight, called for a review of policies regarding human students. "Perhaps," she said during a faculty meeting, "we have been preparing for the wrong kind of threat. Instead of fearing what humans might do to us, we should consider what they might do for us." Professor Yolandra presented her findings about human protective behavior. Every piece of evidence suggests that humans are natural guardians. Their evolution on a dangerous world created a species that instinctively protects others, even at personal cost. This makes them ideal for military service, not as weapons, but as shields. The Academy began quietly recruiting more human cadets. They also started reviewing the cases of human personnel who had been passed over for promotion, Due to species prejudice. Wu-Jin Lee, the maintenance technician who had tried to warn everyone about the power fluctuations, was promoted to chief of facility safety. His practical knowledge and attention to detail had prevented the crisis from being much worse. Dr. Choi was offered a position heading the Academy's new interspecies psychology department, focusing on helping different species understand each other better. As for Hyunwoo, he continued his studies with a new group of friends who no longer saw him as a threat. He maintained his humble attitude about the incident, insisting that any human would have done the same thing. "We are not heroes," he told a mixed group of students during an informal discussion about human culture. "We are just people who happen to come from a world that taught us to be strong. We use that strength to help others because, well, what else would you use it for?" This simple question sparked debates across the Academy. Species that had spent thousands of years in peaceful isolation began to reconsider what strength meant and how it should be used. The galaxy's perception of humanity began to shift, one student at a time. The Deathworlders were still dangerous, but now that danger was seen as a shield rather than a sword. And in a universe full of threats both known and unknown, having guardians who would face any danger to protect others seemed less frightening and more necessary. Hyun-Woo never learned that his simple act of courage had started changing how an entire galactic community viewed his species.